godlike. All right, with some delay, that was my fault. I apologize. We're calling to order the meeting of the Woodstock Finance Committee, December 4th at 12:37. I'm going to put up the agenda on the screen. The documents are on the Finance Committee website, which is woodstock-vermont, all spelled out, .com/finance. It's the same as the EDC website with just /finance. Okay, we have additions or deletions to the agenda, citizen comments. If, as usual, we don't usually have a lot of attendees or any actually coming to the Finance Committee meetings, but for the moment at least, so we don't have a lot of experience, but we'll adopt the same approach as the EDC until we discover that that won't work, which is that if you have comments that are related to the agenda, if you could hold them and make them during the course of the agenda, we sort of have a more interactive discussion, time permitting. If you have comments that aren't related to the agenda, then you make them up front. So citizen comments. And then new business, we have two items. One is to provide feedback, this is in the opposite order, to provide feedback on the draft budget to Eric. And Robert, I guess, is still, he's either working hard behind that door or is still sick. But yeah. And then developing plans for the 7 strategic initiatives that we agreed to for our last meeting, at our last meeting. So are there any additions or deletions to the, and we'll go through what those 7 are, but they were posted on the listserv, but we'll go through those. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Yes. Oh, sorry, Kareem, I did not get your items in. So could you note them and could you just write these down? But getting my pen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can summarize those. I know that we're looking at those 7 opportunities, strategic opportunities. The 2 points I had regarding those is, one, did we get confirmation that, I know that Eric had commented high level on last
sorry,
time.
Kareem, let me just interrupt for 1 second. Just all we're doing is adding or deleting items to the agenda. If they're about the 7, you can comment on it then. Is that all right?
Okay, so no. So
but you wanted to add something to the agenda though.
Yes, I would like to discuss the point that barely failed because it had a 1.8 score versus 1.1, which had to do with raising fees on buildable lots, because I think it fits strategically with what we're trying to do, which is to have more homes built in Woodstock. That's number 1. Number 2, regarding those items, I wanted to know if we got any feedback from Eric and the select board. So it's connected to, but it's in addition to those items. And then finally, I also wanted to talk about, generally speaking, those items plus potentially an additional one, or if we drop or whatever we're left with as items. I'd like us to define a little bit more what strategic means from a finance committee point of view. Is it strategic only because it has financial implications? Or is it strategic because it also fits into Woodstock's sort of improved future financial, economic, cultural, and social sort of imperatives, so that we're not working just in a sort of tunnel vision, focusing on mini initiatives that in our view might be strategic, but are they really connected to the future of the town?
Okay, I'm going to add those all to the end of the agenda.
Sure.
So we have until 2 o'clock. Hopefully we can get to all of that. I know those are important issues. So are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, hearing none. Citizen comments. We have some folks online. If you raise your hand online or just unmute yourself, or if anyone here wants to raise their hand, have any comments?
John, I have a quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
Given the potentially up to 20% educational tax increase that we're going to be bearing, I think it behooves all communications on the budget that eventually go public make very clear what increases are not under the control of the town. Because putting aside some longer term things I'd like to see happen with our approach to budgeting, I think Eric and you all have done a good job at holding the line in terms of considerable cost increases on this. And I wouldn't like to see this kind of go down because of people's sticker shock about the total tax bill, most of which is, of course, the education tax.
Okay, all right. Just a point of clarification. While many of us on the committee love to take credit for things for which we've had no responsibility, to the extent that the costs that are in our control have been well controlled, that was Eric and the department heads. We didn't have, as you know, we have not been involved to any extent in the line by line creation of the budget. Are there any? But I take your point. So
Okay, great.
any other comments?
I think I'd like to add to Roger's comment. I think he's, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Roger, but if I extrapolate your thinking, it comes back to the age-old discussion that we've had, which is, can we have an overall picture as opposed to discussing things on a one-off basis, meaning that the budget needs to be discussed in light of the potential increases, economic increases, taxes. They need to be discussed in light of, the water issue, the municipal building, et cetera, et cetera. So somehow we need to get to the point where we present an overall picture to the citizens. And I don't think we're there yet.
Yes, I would agree. I think that's a great idea. Whether it can be done this year or not, I don't know, but the closer we get to it, the better off we are.
All right, other comments? Yeah, Kareem, this. But I think that's what, yeah, anyway, it's a little hard to hear. Kareem, the connection is usually not bad, but today somehow but the mouthpiece is what, if we didn't have the mouthpiece, you wouldn't be able to, it'd be much clearer, it'd be silence.
Yeah, Kareem, I would just try to enunciate and take pause as you're speaking. I think that'll maybe be part of the process.
Yeah, it's technically, it doesn't sound quite as clear as it usually does.
So sorry, would you like me to repeat what I just said? Or no?
That sounds wonderful, though.
Yeah, I think the comment that he made was basically that he thinks that we need to have an overall view of the finances, not just individual pieces. So if you want to move up closer, you can, or even come. You're welcome to sit here if you'd like. So, all right. Are there any other comments? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to. I think, particularly given the comment that Roger and Kareem made, I just suggest that we switch the order of the agenda, because if we don't finish item A, we can always continue it. But if we don't finish item B, we've run out of a time slot to give Eric feedback, because I think the select board and the trustees and the town manager are going to, the municipal manager, sorry, are going to resolve this budget in the next month. So is there any feedback from members of the finance committee about the budget? And I will pass on, sorry, if I can, Jill, you're not here, right? So let me just, since she's not here, I'll pass on her comment. So don't forget, she wanted to know, and so would I, how much of the budget increase is driven by, it's really gets to Roger's point, factors, the municipal budget increase is driven by factors essentially out of our control, and two in particular. One are union agreements for salaries, and the second is healthcare costs. So I don't know if you want to come up and address that. That's really not a suggestion as it is clarification that we can understand it.
So Eric, the way I did the math, and pretty close, 89% of the increase of those two items.
Probably, yeah. I don't know the numbers for me, but that would be, yeah. If you look at the overall balance sheets, increase in capital reserves, auditing, recreation is minimal, if anything at all. It's majority of salaries and benefits. The vast majority of employees in Woodstock are in the union. So outside of department heads and elected officials, everyone in town hall is part of union, DPW is part of union, police besides the chief are in the union, the police administrative assistants in a union, the fire department's in a union, the dispatchers are in a union. So all you really have outside of the union are department heads and elected officials. For department heads, and I'll include myself in that, kind of just be a broad scheme. It's budgeted at 3% increase, which has been the typical COLA increase here for the last few years, I believe, which is probably actually less than what the union members get. Most of them are probably looking at 2.5% to 3% increase COLA, and then probably a step increase as well. So that could come to like a 4.5% increase. When it comes to benefits, the town currently covers 93% of the benefits, with 7% going to the employees. I don't
Talking about healthcare costs.
Yeah, healthcare costs. Yeah, I don't have the number in front of me, but I think most union contracts do allow for a 2% change year over year. So you could go from 93 to 91, to 91 to 89, and so on and so forth. The trustees and the select board are meeting tonight and tomorrow night in a public meeting to kind of go over the budget, and some of these things may come up. I know the finance committee did some benchmarking, and the recommendation was to lower the health insurance from 93% to 91%. I will say, with that in mind and that benchmarking, in the last 6 months, we've been able to hire a few employees based solely on our benefits package, knowing that we paid less than the competition, but they chose health benefits over salaries. And one of my concerns is if we lose that benefit we have, we may lose those employees we brought in already, but also future employees where we can't compare and wage. We can say, well, at least we have these health benefits, and maybe you're a family with 3 kids and it benefits you. So that's one of those cost benefits where I don't have the ability to say saving that 2% will not cost any loss to employees, or will, but that's something to consider as well.
I think that what would be useful to build on kind of Tom's calculation, and Tom, is to basically be able to say, other than union salary costs, I mean, you don't have to do it right now, but to be able to communicate, and this gets to Roger's point, other than union agreements, other than a 3% cost of living increase for salaries for non-union members, and other than the current healthcare benefits, here's what the percentage increase in taxes would be, as opposed to, I think the current number is about 8.7%.
So for the village, it's I think 8.5, or maybe 8.75. For the town, it's around 6%.
Okay, so and those two numbers, what would they be? At what is the increase absent the increases that we're essentially required to pay? Either?
I think those are straight line items where it's a full roll up. So you're going to find that if it's 6% approximately for town residents, you're going to find 5.31 is.
You know, this year 89% was not all salaries. It was union only and healthcare.
Precisely.
Okay, so if that's the case, then what we're talking about is a budget of 3% salary increases and approximately 1% cost increases in other
variable
categories.
Expenses that we could really modify here are less than 1% of the increase.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's Roger's point.
Yeah.
He was talking about education, but it's also parts of our municipal budget are out of our control. So
yeah.
Communicating that, I think the top line, because when I looked at the top line, I went, whoa, what's going on? You know,
And I think at least on the budget I presented to the boards last week, to Roger's point, I took into consideration the current state of things, what the school tax may be, and also what the town's looking to do over the next few years, whether it's a water company, sewer renovation, town hall, etc., and try to not fit in everything that was required or asked of, to take those considerations in the long term in the budget as well.
To Eric's credit here, I want to be sure we understand. He's going at this with a level of detail that I'm not sure has been expressed in recent memory here. And because of that, it's not a rubber stamp, it's a methodical, cleansing of all of what the asks are. And one of the most difficult cuts is you don't know what you're really. So I think we need to give Eric a lot of credit here, because he is in the hot seat and we're trying to support him and his group. But the reality is he's paddling pretty friggin' hard. Okay?
We already gave him credit earlier.
Okay.
No,
Hey, you already got a 3% increase. I'm done.
No, I appreciate
Hey.
the compliment. And I will say, in a meeting we had with a sub-finance committee with one of the department heads, it was Jill Davis. I can't forget who the other person was in the meeting. I did say this is going to be a 3 to 5 year project and this budget in line the way it should be. This year, just with time constraints, the lack of staffing, we didn't have the time to really sit down and flush everything out the way we wanted to. So it's probably more in line with the way that budgets have been in the past. And I think Roger's on the call too. I'd love to be able to do a zero budgeting at some point, sit down and build a budget up from the zero. But that's going to take time and effort that we just don't have right now. So I said to the board, this is the best budget we put together that we have. It's not the budget I wanted to put together, but it's what we have right now. So
and other comments?
Can I just say something else, Jonathan?
Yeah, let me just give a chance for finance committee members and then you come
Okay,
back.
sorry.
Anyone. Other members of the finance committee, any comments?
Yes, please.
Kareem?
I'm going to speak slow, so if I start to break it too much, you will. Okay.
Yep.
So first off, I have 3 comments and 2 questions on the budget. First off, the comments. I'm sure, Eric, you're planning on doing this, but just in the off chance, no. When I look at what was included in the documents, there is the department head requests, and I'm looking at the expenses. And then there is what you came back with. And the delta's pretty significant. So for example, salaries and benefits went from 5.4 to about 5.1. That's a big delta, and I'm sure you're going to explain, what you did in order to control the sort of the ask, okay? And I was pretty impressed to see that those expenses were really kept under the lid, if you will. So that's one comment, okay? The second comment is, I do think that, again, we need to reiterate what's under the control of what the town can do and what's not, because people know already what is going to probably happen with the school taxes, and you don't want them as a sort of a violent reaction decide to vote against the budget, even though a lot in it is not under our control, right? Because of the school issue coming up. The third comment is you talked about the health benefits, and I think the point to reiterate here is that the savings that we calculated in that paper are really not that high dollar-wise compared to the risks that we would be taking by not having.
Hold on 1 second. All right, we can actually respond to this. It'll take about a minute. But let's just get some internet first.
It sounds like a reboot to me.
No. We're gonna get that. Wait, we still have internet. Is there a light on in that little round pod there? Yeah, maybe not. It probably is not.
I can see and hear you.
I can also.
Is the internet on a separate server?
Can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, just give us a minute then. We're gonna.
We obviously lost power.
We lost power here, so hold on.
Kareem, did you lose power? He's not there. He lost power.
You know what, can you take that computer off? No, it might still be recording. Is it connected?
It's connected.
We
You got
got
power.
an, I think we didn't lose internet. Is the internet on a power backup?
It should be, yeah.
All right, we're gonna lose the recording. Oh, man.
So we have a legal responsibility to record all meetings
Well, to put some, to do minutes. which is-
precisely, which
But also,
affected.
you could offer our online option so people, now it's a legal requirement, I believe,
All right, could someone, Rod, someone who's technically savvy, I don't wanna name names, could you request to record this meeting?
Sure, I give it a shot. I don't know if
Yeah.
I count as technically savvy or not, but
I'm not gonna opine on that publicly, Roger. I do have my own opinions of it, and they're very strongly held.
And they won't move.
Yeah, right, nothing.
okay, I just sent a request to record.
Okay, yeah, and I've just approved it.
Okay,
And hold on one second.
Roger,
Can you-
yeah, I can hear you.
You turn that computer off.
Yeah.
Just log out of the meeting. And we'll
Log
get the echo away.
Give me 1 second.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, give me 1 second.